How we doing? Got Akron here at Williams-Brice Stadium at noon, last home game for 20 seniors, and certainly we need to send them out the right way and play the right way and have our crowd out in full force and support these guys and a lot they've given to our program. Really appreciative of them. And Akron's 4-7, but they beat Northwestern early in the year. He was playing for the Big Ten championship, and certainly we need to have a great week of preparation. I got a lot of respect for Coach Bowden. Worked for him in 1995 and 1996 at Auburn. Gave me my first job, and certainly appreciative of him for that. And I'm very familiar with their staff and most of the guys there. They're at Akron, and they'll do a good job and play well and coach well. Cato Nelson, the quarterback's a dual threat guy, can do both, and they really use him in the RPOs and some of the run game and throws the ball well. Edwards is a really good back that is a big lower body. We're going to need to play the run better. Williams and Smith, two guys outside that really catch your eye as far as offensively, guys that make plays down the field for them. Bell's a really good linebacker for them. They're primarily a four-down team. And then both safeties, George and Davis, are really good players, and they do a nice job pressuring the quarterback in the different pressure packages that they have. Injury-wise, J.C. Horn was in a boot today, but still may get him for Saturday. We'll see how that goes. And, in pregame Saturday night, just didn't feel good about pressing off and such. So still got an opportunity to get him back. Other than that, from the game, we should be good to go. A.J. Turner's going to rep at nickel for us this week. AJ's a guy that on special teams you really see instinctively him being able to make plays and field blocks and is a good tackler and a good space player and has the ability to be a good man coverage guy. So he's a good athlete, so we're going to give him some opportunity to play on the defensive side of the ball this week, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Well, you touched on it there with A.J. and also Shy on Sunday night. Are there any other offensive guys that you're looking at maybe to fill in?
That's it.
Well, how do you kind of master the art of moving on? What do you tell your players? Coming off such an emotional game on Saturday night, you guys, you have another game to get ready for now.
I think that it's really the approach of your program. And it's not something you just come that week and say this is what we do. That's why we talk about every week as a season. We mean it. We move forward. We spend the same amount of time as far as coaches in the office, whether we're playing Akron or whoever we're playing. That's part of our preparation. Our players understand that. Our players understand it's not about the logo and who we're playing. It's about us. It's about our preparation, how we prepare through the week and get ready for a ball game. And every game is a mindset game, and you got to have the right mindset, the right energy, the right focus, the right effort, toughness, and discipline on Saturday afternoon at noon. And so those are all things that we talk about all the time. It's the opponent's nameless and faceless. It's our job to make a decision to be who we are on game day, and you got to do that by preparing the right way.
Coach, in terms of AJ, just when did you guys decide to move him over and start repping him there, and how has he kind of welcomed, the different position changes this week?
AJ's been kidding with me for 3 years about playing defense, and but a guy that just showed special teams wise. We have some depth at the running back position right now. We got some guys we have confidence in, and it's nothing that he has not done at running back. It's just there's an opportunity possibly for him to move over and certainly help us this week, and we'll see how it goes moving forward. But he has a great attitude. Certainly came in and met with T-Rob for a lot of Monday and to go through and just make sure, just learning some different concepts that we teach and being able to get him aligned and play. But AJ's extremely bright. He's fine. He'll learn it.
Jeff. Will, Jake obviously had a record-setting performance on Saturday. Did you think he should have been SEC Player of the Week?
I'm going to try and be politically correct. I'm not very good at that. We're not big into individual awards here. It's not who we are. It's about the team, and Jake will be the first one to tell you that. And Jake played well because of how he prepares, how he watches film, how he practices. But Jake played well because our offensive line played well, because they prepared the right way. And I told our team, offensively we're playing really good football, and I think a lot of it goes back to our preparation and how we practice. And our offensive line is straining at practice. I'd say the same thing for the other position groups offensively. The tight ends, the receivers, the running backs. Those guys are all competing and practicing the right way, and that's a credit to them. And certainly, but I do think it's important when a young man does some special things to get recognized for it. And, he's the first quarterback in Southeastern Conference history to throw for that many yards against a top 5 team and 5 touchdowns in the history of the league. Never been done before. That's pretty impressive, in my opinion. But I have learned, I've been in this league a long time, so I have learned, we have a saying that it just means more. It just means more sometimes depending on what your logo is. So call it like it is. Next question.
Do you want to drop your mic?
Nah.
Okay. You'll probably be asked.
Hey, I'm going to defend our kids. Make sure we all understand that. I work for South Carolina.
Well, you used to work for Mac Brown.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll be asked about him a million
Sure.
times. over the
Happy
next
Coach
few
Brown's
months.
back in, and good situation. Obviously, was at North Carolina, had great success there. So he'll do a great job. He's an outstanding football coach. You look at what he did at the University of Texas when he came to there, and obviously they were struggling with a lot of different things, and really built that program to where it is now. And he'll do a really good job.
What did he mean to you in sort of kind of your career trajectory?
Oh,
that
you
situation?
learn, and everybody you work for, as far as different ways to do things and different ways to manage things. And I think Mac was a master at managing the organization, and just did a fantastic job with those things, and really learned a lot from him, and certainly have helped me in my career, and we're very appreciative of that.
Well, following up with Jake, his teammates while they were in here, some of them said that they could sense during the week or in pregame that it was going to be a special night for Jake. Did you see anything during the week or in pregame that maybe clued you in that this was going to be one of those nights for Jake?
No, I think that, again, things kind of came together, and, we made some plays. And, again, like I said before, he had a lot of people play well around him. But he certainly pulled the trigger and did some nice things. I don't know that there was anything through the week. I see the guy. I see how he prepares every week, and that's something that's extremely impressive to me, of how he goes about his business and his preparation and how he practices, and his practice habits, along with some other guys, have really rubbed off on our team.
Will, some of the guys in here said today that, the message was that this week in practice is, this is a championship week. A lot of teams are practicing for championship games. Let's practice like it's a championship, and we're going to point towards next year. Is that the message you're sending to these
Well, I
guys?
talked to the team this morning. I said, it's interesting how things work sometimes. The good Lord works in mysterious ways. Next year we've got 2 open dates. Well, we practiced that this year because of the hurricane. We had an open date and then played Vanderbilt, and then had our normal open date that was already scheduled. Next year we've got 5 games, and then we have an open date, and we play Georgia, and then we play 6 and have an open date and play Clemson. So we've been able to bend through that process now. So we understand that, and the guys will tell you, I like to be able to practice things, and regardless whether it's situational football. But our goal is to go to Atlanta, and you go to Atlanta, you'll be practicing this time next year, and we need to get used to practicing this week.
Well, a lot of the guys were also talking about how Saturday's performance could carry over into next year, whether that's the first game or all the way to the Clemson game. How easy is it to sustain that attitude throughout a whole year and a whole offseason?
I think that we lost the game. That's the bottom line. And as we went there to win the football game. I don't really pull a lot out of a loss, other than just going back schematically and look at things you did well and some things you probably could have done differently. But I do think that for some very young players that we had on the field, I think that you can gain some confidence from it, and we move forward.
Well, you've been with Jake since his first start. Now you've seen his progression. Do you think that he's ready to make the next step to the NFL now that what you've seen this year?
He's a junior. So we play Akron on Saturday. That's what we're worried about right now.
Coach, I know you guys do a lot of film prep and stuff like that in the off season for your opponents that you already know are going to be here, but Akron was kind of added late. How did film prep for this go, and did you have guys breaking down film, I guess, before the game was announced? And
Yes, when we found out that we were going to get the game, we got all of their film from this year, and but it's the same operation that we normally have. Obviously, we didn't do any summer work on Akron because that's normal when we would do a lot of the foundation of our game plans, but no, we've got all the film we normally have for every game.
Is it any harder to game plan for a team when you have, I guess, a limited time when you didn't have that summer prep work that you normally get for it?
Just familiarize yourself with the personnel a little bit, but at this time of the year, there's not a lot of new things that you're going to see. I mean, people do what they do. They're going to have a couple wrinkles here and there that you face that every week. That's part of it.
Beyond Brad, what kind of depth do you guys have at the buck position? Who's kind of stepping up there with sort of how the injuries have hit that spot?
Well, JJ is a guy that can move outside and do that, and so he's able to do that. And then we'll have some combinations of Rosendo Lewis can do that as well, a guy that can go play on the edge if need be. So we'll have some bodies there.
Well, looking at Mon or Rico or whoever's playing running back, does that change y'all's offensive game plan depending on who's in the game? As in, would it be a better RPO, for one back and over the other?
I think that there's some runs that certain backs like more than others, maybe, and that's something that we talk to them about. And sometimes in protection, who's in the game, and sometimes as far as being a primary read in the route concept, who's in the game. So those are things that we talk about, and we'd like certainly that. But there's not enough difference between the guys that we totally go a different direction based on who's in the game.
How much of an impact since the middle of the season with Brian McClendon being on the field to call the game as opposed to the box, do you think that's had, or is maybe an improvement late in the season just been everybody becoming more comfortable and him growing in that spot?
I think it's probably a mixture of a lot of things. I think Brian's demeanor on the sideline is really good for our players. I think it's, I always, as a play caller defensively, was always on the field. And certainly you can see the game better from the box. But, sometimes when you face adversity, sometimes you get a much better feel as a play caller when you're on the field and you're able to see the guy's eyes and see how they're responding and how the situation is going. You're not asking how are things down there. That's something as a play caller, you get a feel for where your guys are. I think we've played much better at the receiver position since he's been on the field, which has been much more effective for us offensively in the throwing game, and we've been very efficient throwing the football. So I think, and I also believe there's a comfort level of our entire offense that's gotten more confidence week to week to week, and that's why we've been very efficient. So I think it's a combination of things.
Yeah, it's just a question for my own education. Just looking at the game from Clemson. Yeah, I'm always trying to learn.
Okay.
Looking at the film, just a television film, that play to Markway late in the first half that was called back because of illegal receiver downfield. Mm-hmm. Was that a correct call by the officials? Who was up on the line that shouldn't have been up on the line on that?
We were covered up from outside in. We should have been off the ball at the number one receiver.
Will, has this game caused any kind of adjustments in your pre-bowl game plan? And did you game plan for that back after the Marshall game was canceled, knowing that it was likely that maybe there'd be a December 1st game?
Well, obviously we got an extra week of the season, so and we don't know what bowl we're going to. So once we find out Sunday, then we'll make the appropriate adjustments.
As far as recruiting plans, things
Oh yeah, and it was changes recruiting. We'd have been on the road Sunday, so but we're the majority, I would say, all of the staff will be out Thursday. We practice in the morning, so we're able to go out Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, and then the majority of us will be out Friday around our walkthroughs that we have here and get in preparation for the game. But during the season, myself and the coordinators and both line coaches, we typically stay in during the season. So coaches we go out recruiting on Friday. We get, I think it's 42 evaluations in the fall, so it's not totally different.
Scar said this morning that he thought Jake had matured a great deal in the last 4 or 5 weeks in terms of being calm, less emotional, and not letting pressure get to him. Do you agree with that? Have you seen that?
I think that you don't want to take away anybody's personality as a player, but you certainly don't want to let your emotions affect your outcome, your productivity as a player. And I think at times he's an emotional player, so you don't want to take that away from him. But I think he's certainly channeled that at times, maybe better. and he's playing efficient football. So we need to continue to do what we're doing.
Following that up with Jake and just the quarterbacks in general, what kind of influence do you think Dan Werner's had on that group this year in year one with him?
Well, I think Dan's done a really, Dan's got a very even-keeled demeanor, and just a lot of experience. And I think he and Brian have gelled extremely well. Their personalities are opposite. Brian's more of a fiery guy, but I think that they complement each other well, along with Eric Wolford and Bobby Bentley and Pat Washington. I think that entire staff has done a really nice job for us this year. But I think that Dan's experience and his demeanor with the quarterbacks was something I think's really helped us.
Yeah, obviously, AJ's been productive for you at running back, but do you look at him maybe next year with as crowded as the running room could be as being a guy who could stay on defense?
Well, we'll look at that. I think that this is something that we've talked about before as a staff, and so we'll see what's best for our football team and what's best for AJ.
Will, with so many injuries on the D line, does that change how you guys try to rotate them? I know you always like to keep them fresh, but I would think you're going to run out of bodies at some point.
Well, the good thing is we do have some depth. Jabari Ellis has only played in, I think, one game, so he can be up for this week. And you look at Javon inside and Kobe inside, Josh, Ricky. JJ's going to play more end in this game / Buck in this game. Shamik and Griffin Gentry played a good bit Saturday night. Brad Johnson, did a nice job Saturday night. So we got plenty of guys to go around, and we've got some depth at the position.
At some point, and I would guess it's moved up because of the new signing day, you do have to have a discussion with your underclassmen about the NFL and kind of get an idea of what their plans are. Have you had those discussions yet?
No, we'll do that when the season's over and in December.
Does this week and this game affect that? Would that normally be happening this week?
Some of those discussions happen when the regular season's completed, but we're not done yet.
In terms of numbers, when would you need to know from your guys?
Numbers of?
In terms of the class you're going to bring in, when would you need to know from your juniors? Just let me know one way or the other whether you're coming back or going.
Oh, well, I think it's the 1st of January is when they've got to declare by, so I'm just by that time.
So you don't need to know earlier than that for your.
No.
Let's go to Ben.
This Akron defense has been pretty effective over the course of the season. Just what kind of what do they kind of do well? What kind of stands out with them?
Well, he had two pick sixes against Northwestern, return for touchdowns. But again, they've done a nice job. You look at the two safeties that are very active in man and zone. They do a really nice job. The linebacker Bell's a guy that's very active, makes a lot of plays. He's from Lowndes County, down in Valdosta, Georgia. And then two defensive ends that do a nice job pressuring the quarterback and getting on the quarterback. Todd Stroud, their defensive coordinator, is a guy I've known for a long time, and he does a really good job defensively. His background is with the defensive front. He's with Chuck Amato at NC State, and they had some great defensive lines there. So they're well coached. They do a nice job.
Yeah, as you guys hit the road recruiting with what you've got already in this class, are there particular positions you're focusing on to fill out the class? And then number two, with coaching carousel season starting up, are you concerned about other schools poaching some coaches off your staff?
Well, again, I think that from a recruiting standpoint, obviously defensive back, I'd like to some more offensive linemen, and you're never going to turn down a good defensive lineman if they certainly emerge there. So that's obviously a little bit of an emphasis, but again, you're always trying to sign the best players that can help your organization. So that's the key part of that. But and then as far as the coaching stuff's concerned, I mean, we're on the verge of some really good things here. Moving into the new operations facility, the Ken and Cindy Long operations facility, 1st of January. We're on the verge of some special things here, and our staff, I don't anticipate any changes, and I know our guys are working extremely hard and excited about our future.
Well, Coach Bowden told us yesterday that after your GA time, you briefly got out of the business, and that was
couldn't
that just
find a job.
Yeah, was that a young guy looking for exploring some options? And how influential? He also said that he talked to you and saying, you're good at this and you need to keep doing this. How influential was he in making you decide to stay in this business?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's no question. just to get reassurance from a guy that was a head football coach at Auburn University and was having a good run at the time, and to tell you, you need to stick with this thing. But at the end of the day, I had to pay some bills somehow. No, there was no doubt. I appreciate his words.
Other than Josh Belk, I think the only guy who can cross the threshold into a non-red shirt is Ernest Jones. He's played 3 games. Do you envision him playing in the next 2, or would you like to hold him out for 1?
John, we've talked about that. That's something I'd like to discuss with Ernest first, but he's definitely going to play this weekend, and then we'll have a plan for the bowl game on what we want to do, as far as that's concerned. But that's something we've discussed.
Coach, Eric Kimry tweeted out earlier today that Jackson got Skeeza Player of the Year. Just talk about just seeing him grow as a quarterback and leading him into undefeated season and a title.
Well, they got a really good team, and he's got a lot of really good players around him. And Eric does a fantastic job as the head coach there, but is a very good developer at the quarterback position. And watching him develop, Corbett Glick, who's our walk-on our team, the first 2 years we were here, and to watch his development and then to see Jackson's development from game 1 to the end of the season speaks volumes in the job that Eric did with him. But he's got a lot of really good players around him. It's a fantastic program. I think they've won 9 or 10 state championships in the last 13 years or something. So he does an outstanding job, and I'm so proud of my son. I'm glad he's got his mom's ability and talent there. Her athleticism, I would say.
With the running back spot, how do you feel about the health of Rico and Tyson?
Yeah, they're fine. We've been able to week by week, reduce the cast on Tyson's hand, so he feels much more comfortable carrying the football. That's been the whole issue. And then I wouldn't say that Rico's 100%, but I thought he ran well the other night, and he practiced again today, and I thought he looked good. And Mons, runs the ball extremely hard. I've been really, really pleased with his production and the opportunities that he's had. Deshaun Fenwick is a guy that's, given his opportunities, done well. So he needs to continue to progress. All righty. Y'all have a great day.